Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, listeners, lovers, and friends, welcome back to the ProdCast. Coming to you up above Dave Grohl Alley in beautiful downtown Warren, Ohio, in the Two Ticks and the Dog studios. Thanks, Two Ticks, that's me, for having us and hosting us today. Most importantly, I want to thank that intro music is from Damian Knapp, who let us use that. And that's from a previous show. You can go back and check it out, Prodders, if you didn't watch the Damian Knapp episode from this season. I do want to, of course, thank our amazing sponsors, the Station Square Restaurant, Modern Methods Brewery, Salvatore's Italian Grill, Green Life Holdings, and we can't forget Brokers Realty. What up, Dan Alvarez? Our guest today is none other than a Trumbull County legend, maybe if only in his mind, but he's certainly a legend in Trumbull County politics, and he is the newest Trumbull County Common Pleas Judge. Of course, he was a state rep and a state senator. We're going to talk about that. Mr. Sean O'Brien, Your Honor, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. So, jump right into it. What's the whole transition like going from public servitude where you were, you're a very, for people that don't know Sean, he's a very likable, very affable guy. He's very social. And so him being down at the State House as a legislator, 6 years as a state rep, 4 years as a state senator was advantageous for our area because he was from here. And of course, before he was a state rep, he had been on a bunch of different foundation boards, Inspiring Minds, Someplace Safe. He's on the Youngstown Air Community Council, the Air Base Community Council, and also was the founding member of the Trumbull County Community Foundation. So he had a long service of history. Then he goes down to Columbus, and being an affable guy gives him a kind of a leg up because you can talk to people and get along with people, both sides of the aisle, any side of the aisle. But now you're kind of out of politics.
Yeah.
You're not constantly campaigning like you had to as a state rep.
Yeah.
And you got a little bit of breathing room now before your next election.
6 years.
Yeah. So what's it like, man? What's that transition been like?
You know what? It was a little bit interesting when I first started it. The first 2 months at the court. You've in the Senate and the House, you have different committees you got to be at, and you're doing different things. Here, you're sitting on your bench, you're trying to look at cases and figure out, okay, am I making the right decision? And it took a couple months before I got my feet under me, but I found the bathrooms, and it looks like
most important.
And now it's starting to I'm a little more relaxed and getting more in touch with it. And, I've had some good role models, and, Judge Rice, Ron, he's there. And, I was his prosecutor when he was in Central or Eastern District Court. And he's been a great help. Took me under his wings, said, hey, here are some of the things. And that was really a big help. His wife, Cindy, she just started at the same time I did. But she was a judge, so she had some idea of what that was like. So having them and Judge Logan as well, I think we have a good team, and it's really been beneficial to have them be able to take me under their wing and show me, talk to me about, hey, if there's a problem, run this by me. And I did. I've run some cases. What do you think? And and until I could get my feet underneath me, it's a real big help.
Yeah, is the learning curve pretty vast? Because even though you were a practicing attorney, you were a former prosecutor under Dennis Watkins, that's a different animal than being a judge, and probably different pressures.
Yeah, and it's a lot different. And, just getting the plea forms and pleas down and making sure you're not making a mistake so you're getting appealed. And, it was a little bit more of a learning curve than I thought it was going to be. But again, I've got really good help there with the judges. My bailiff has been there for a long time. My court reporter's been there, I think, over 22 years. So there's a lot of other experience in there that I can lean on that's been very helpful.
Well, you mentioned Court of Appeals. Of course, that's where Judge Cindy Rice came from. Mm-hmm. Two of those folks that you mentioned, of course, were previous clients of Two Ticks and myself. Awesome people, great mentors, I'm sure. But mentioning like the Court of Appeals, is that something that judges in your position, like not that you're keeping score, but like how important is it for you to not have it go to the appellate court and then overturn a ruling of yours?
You know, they taught us that in new judge school, baby judge school, we call it. But they said, that's not something you worry about. Just do the best you can and do the right thing that you think's right. And, that's why you have the appeal process. And for the most part, I think we keep that philosophy, but I think also in the back of your mind is, I don't want to overturn. So I don't think you purposely out there keep score and say, hey, I haven't been overturned, or I've overturned 2 or 3 times. You don't say it publicly, but I think you think it in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
So it's there, but...
Is there any judges currently, like in Trumbull County, that are known for not being overturned? Like, does anybody have like a really great record? Even in the past, maybe not even someone sitting now.
I don't think it's brought up and talked about like that. And I think we have the 3 of the best judges right now serving in Trumbull County, Judge Logan and both Judge Rice's. The amount of experience they have, and just sitting by them and seeing how they're operating. Again, it's been a big help to me, but I think they're a very important part of our community and keeping the judicial system running the way it has been, and it's successful as much as it has been. If you look at the turnover rate for judges, it really doesn't happen, and that means you're doing a good job. The voters see what you're doing, respect it, and keep voting. Judge Logan's been in very long time. I know Judge Ron Rice has been there at least 12 years, and before that he was I think in the mid-90s in Eastern District Court. So
sure.
And Cindy's been since 2003 in the Court of Appeals, and then she just came down. So you got a lot of experience, but that shows that people are recognize that and support them.
Well, being that it's like a tight-knit community, like are there how there are sunshine laws with, certain, like the Trumbull County Board of Commissioners or any of those things, like where you can't be in meetings or whatever. Are you allowed to talk about things? Or are there things like, because you're, it's like anything else. You're friends with those people.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked for those people for so long. You end up being friends with them. Like, are there things that you have to avoid to kind of like...
Well, you could talk to them about cases and what's going on, but you can't talk... One of the hard things, and you got to keep this... I have to keep this in mind, is, I was a prosecutor, and, I know the defense attorney, so sometimes if you see him in a hallway, you can't talk anything about the case, and you got to make sure you don't even remotely talk about it, because that could be... you'd have to transfer the case, or, that could be a grounds for an appeal. So... making sure you're not discussing the case or talking to other people outside the judges, that you could, lay people or people going out in the community talking about the case. You can't do that. But with the other judges, you can bounce ideas off with them. And when they tell you in new baby judge school, they actually, assign you a mentor, and you're supposed to bounce stuff off them. And I do, but
Who's your mentor? Did you get assigned one?
I did, and he is out of Cleveland area, and he's the Common Pleas Judge up there, and he, Brendan Kavanaugh, I think's his name. I don't have it on me, because I'm fortunate that I don't have to call him a lot, because I have so many judges right here that are a big help to me.
That's cool. So when you get elected, they go to baby judge school.
Yeah,
I don't know if
that's what they
probably
call
not the official name of it.
No, it's called new judges school. But down there, they call you into baby judge.
How long of a process is that? A couple days?
Well, you have to go to 2 sessions. One is learning how to take pleas, how you do civil cases, and that's good. And that was 4 days. It's actually 8 days, because they break it up. And then there's also Common Pleas Judges, because we have to deal with the death penalty. I had to go to death penalty school, and that was intense, 3 days as well. So I've been going to a lot of seminars lately. In fact, there was an optional one next week, and I said, I can't do another one. So and we took a break on that.
With such a long history as a prosecutor, maybe it's already happened. I'm sure it will happen at some point. How do you keep your personal biases or professional biases out of your decision-making process, especially for someone like yourself, where you may run into a defendant who you prosecuted in your former career with the Trumbull County Prosecutor's Office?
Well,
or do you excuse yourself from that? How does that work?
It depends on the situation. If it's somebody that I feel that I can't be fair to, or someone I've known a long time or have some type of relationship with, I can't judge that case, and that would be sent off. And I've had a couple cases like that where I knew the person or was related to them or something along those lines, and I had to transfer it already. But being a prosecutor, I was also a defense attorney for a short time as well. So I kind of, I'm lucky in the sense that I'm able to look at it from two different angles. I've been on both sides of the street. And, I tried just to look at the facts of the case, listen to what's going on. And then, listen to the recommendations of the prosecutor and listen to the recommendations of the defense counsel, and then try and make the best decision from there. So.
Lenten time or anytime, Station Square Seafood is delivered daily and always prepared fresh every time. And now to go with your salmon, swordfish, or any favorite dish, Station Square's small batch signature seasonings: lemon pepper, Cajun, or charcoal steak rub. When you finish mowing your lawn on that hot summer day, treat yourself to a cold Kolsch. Lawn Artist by Modern Methods Brewery. Stop in our tap room on Dave Grohl Alley in Warren, or pick up a 4-pack today at your local drive-thru or grocery store. Visit modernmethodsbrew.com for more. How do you not, or do you feel this way, not you personally, about your particular case and being a judge, but do you feel judges lean more towards the police or the prosecutors, or do they, how do you stay in the middle when it's, some people are like, oh, I'm sympathetic towards the victim, he got a raw deal. Some people are saying, well, we got to put these criminals away, they're more sympathetic to the police. I mean, how do you keep a balance in that?
I think it's, the way I do it is I just look at the report. I go through the facts, and I don't, sometimes the police are wrong and make the wrong determination, like at a search warrant, or if there's a motion to suppress because of a stop wasn't correct. The law is there to try and help you find your, what's the correct decision. And you try and recognize that if you do have a bias, to try and put that aside. I mean, judges are human. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to have certain feelings like everybody else does. But at the same time, you got to do your best you can to kind of put that behind you and make the right decision.
I would think that would be difficult, especially given how, I've known you for 20 years, and so you're a very personable guy. You're out in the community a lot. You've made a lot of relationships with everybody, police and lay people, if you will. I would think it would be hard, to rule kind of against, like you mentioned, like a search warrant or whatever. Like, you have a relationship with these guys for years. You might have been working cases with them at some point to say, hey, you did the wrong thing. Like, has it happened yet? Anyone like, come on, Judge, you know me from,
Yeah, but that hasn't happened. And, in other types of or other events in my life where something like that happens, where you say, I got to make the right decision. I don't care if it, that's why the voters put you there. That's what your responsibility is. That's an oath that you've taken. But at the end of the day, usually I've seen when I've had to do something that maybe ticks somebody off for whatever reason, they've come back later and said, you know what, I was mad, but that was the right decision to do it. And I've found that 9 out of 10 times in those types of situations, that's what's happened. People come back, you know what, Judge, I was mad at you at that time, but looking back, you know what, I didn't have enough probable cause, and it probably would have came back at the Court of Appeals or, something along those lines. And then they also appreciate that, you're going to do what's right. So they hey, Judge O'Brien, he plays by the book. He's going to do Judge Rice. They, do what they got to do, but they're following the book, and that's the law. And I think people respect that and respect you more when you, even though you ruled against them, you still did what you thought was right.
I want to turn back the hands of time a little bit. When you were a young man, just coming up, you're from Brookfield, you went to Kennedy Christian, was this something that was in your, down the road that you always wanted to do, or was it something, even as a state rep, was that something you always wanted to do? I mean, obviously law is in your blood, it's in your family, but was being a judge something that was like 14-year-old Sean was like, I want to do that someday. This is my life goal? Or how did all that transpire?
14-year-old Sean didn't know what he was doing, but I knew I was always going to get into politics, so I knew that part was going to happen. I didn't know.
When did you know that? When did you realize
I've
that?
always been a real history buff, and I like watching documentaries. I like watching about the Kennedys, the FDR and all that stuff. So I always, growing up, knew I was going to get into politics. That was always something I knew I would do. And so when the opportunity came, I ran for state rep and enjoyed that. And then, obviously, opportunity for Senate. And then, I started looking at, okay, where do I want to be in my life? And, driving to Columbus for 10 years was starting to get old. But I knew Columbus was going to run out anyway. And I was looking at, do I want to run for prosecutor? Do I want to run for judge? And, I started thinking more and more about it and realized that judge is, the path I want to take, and started looking at that. And the opportunity arose just with Wyatt McKay, great judge, been there forever, since 1988, I think. And so I decided to take the chance, ran, used 2 techs and a dog. And that's, and for your listeners who don't know, I'm the one who made Jim who he is today.
He loves saying this, loves bringing it up.
He was the first guy I used when I ran for...
I'm going to tell the story because you opened the
everybody
you opened the
knows
door.
that
Okay,
I made you.
Yeah. You and Judge Frederica, and there's been a couple of candidates that like to kind of bust me a little bit about, your career was on the ropes. Like Frederica's like, I brought you back. I resurrected your career.
Yeah, but I created
you.
That's
well, I guess Tim Ryan didn't count, and Cindy Rice probably didn't count, and I don't know, the handful of other folks that I had done prior. But the funny thing is that my mother really liked you. She met you on the bus to Tim's inauguration, like the second one.
Yep.
And
in 06.
Of course, I was there for the original one. But she was like, oh, do you know Sean O'Brien? And I had already been contacted from your opponent at the time, was J.D. Williams, who I think was running as a Democrat at that point. Or maybe, did he run as a D?
Yeah.
He's a Republican now.
Yeah.
A lot of people, we can talk about that. A lot of people switched over. But he had called, and I had a great conversation with him, and I liked him. I was like, I like this guy. He's really cool. But my mom was like, Sean, he's gonna run, and I don't really know him. Whatever. And then we ended up. So you had an in with my mom a little bit, which she gave you a good.
Well, you got a good mom.
She's great. So you had an in with her, but then we also ended up working together on the Trumbull County Community Foundation, and that was kind of a good experience to see you outside of politicking, even though there's a little bit of glad handing and that kind of stuff as we were raising funds. The very first project we did was at Dr. Nafaw's house at Catabaz. We were the originators of his concert series at Catabaz.
Yes.
Now he has them every year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I've been to a few of them. There's a lot of I've missed more than I've made because I'm always out of town and doing something. But he's having another one this summer. But to see and to see you in action, passionate about the community, it kind of reaffirmed, because obviously I had to tell JD, hey man, I'm gonna run with Sean. We had a great meeting as well, and I think we're kind of kindred spirits and have become friends over the years, and so it's easier now.
Yeah.
But Sean loves to bring this up, how he made me and made the career. There's 13 sitting judges. I don't know if that's it's at least 13 in here and in other counties, Portage County and Mahoning. 13 judges sitting judges right now that came through this office.
No kidding, I didn't know that.
Yeah. You're not alone, my friend.
Well, I was the original, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking about like the newness of it though, Marty Nosich, Eastern District Court, also a client and a friend. I think besides Marty, who's my age, I think you're the youngest judge in Trumbull County.
Yeah, I think
right?
you're right.
You're 51. to
25. I'm 54 right now.
You're 54.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Sean never looks his age. People say I don't look my age either, but I think they're just trying to be kind. When I see the camera, when I see the footage of myself and how weathered and beaten
torn
and
up and
greasy Italian face, I don't know, man. I hate doing these. I hate the video portion of it now, just because I have to see myself. But you always have a very youthful appearance, so you're doing good for 54.
Keep going. You're on a roll. Don't stop.
Keep talking about Sean. Does that come with challenges in and of itself because you are young or younger?
Going back to young
54
looking,
is not that.
When
really
I was a
that
juvenile
young.
prosecutor, I had to,
You had to
grow
your
a
goatee.
I had to grow the goatee.
I remember we talked about that because I said, I think you probably should shave that thing. And you go, I'll shave it, but I'm going to look like I'm 16 years old.
Well, when I first ran, I was 42, I think, and I got carded at the door of I went to a door, I was going door to door, and I knocked on the door, and the lady said, "You're not old enough to run." I said, "Well, I'm 42," and she wouldn't believe me, so I had to pull out my ID. But it's, people say it's a blessing, but, you want to look older, and, as a judge, I look like I'm, they say I look like I'm kind of young up there, 10 years old with the dress on. But, it's been a little bit of a handicap. When I was a prosecutor, I had a victim who didn't want me to be the prosecutor because I looked too young. But then I won the case, and she thought, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're awesome." But
just change your tune.
So I grew the goatee back and said, "I better keep this thing."
You've had that goatee, 30 years now?
Yeah, about now, just because of that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Need great food fast? Visit mysalvators.com and order anything on our menu for a quick pickup. All of your favorites ready when you are. Specials available on mysalvators.com.
Want to be debt-free faster, save money in taxes and insurance, and retire with more wealth? Call Zach Byler at Green Life Holdings today for full-service financial advisory. 330-219-5225. If you're looking to buy new or sell your current home or commercial property in Northeast Ohio or Northwestern Pennsylvania, look no further than Brokers Realty at brokerssold.com. Also kind of going back in time a little bit. So you ran a really hotly contested race against JD. You won, term limited out. You served 6 years, 3 terms consecutively, went to state senate. The results didn't come back quite as we wanted on that Senate race.
Yep, the second one, yeah.
You were a winner in every stretch of every race you had run, contested race up to that point. And you had contested races all throughout. You've never run unopposed. Did you have one term that was unopposed?
I had a primary.
Yeah.
I would always, let me say
you had somebody in the general. You didn't.
I
get
always
primary.
had someone in the general, and every
Yeah.
once in a while in the primary, I'd get primaried.
Yeah.
But we were successful every time except this last, 2020 race.
Yeah. So Sandy O'Brien is now the new state senator for our area. She hails from Ashtabula.
Yep.
So that district is Ashtabula, Geauga, Trumbull.
That's it.
And that's it.
Yep.
And they redistricted. Of course, we went through that with Vince's race a little bit and the state rep stuff.
The Senate race stayed the same. The Senate district stayed the same.
Senate district stayed the same.
That one did.
What was that like, man? How was it like to lose finally? I mean, not finally, but to lose. And by all indications, the race, we had Joe and Danny on and Vince a couple episodes ago. And so, Joe Retoff and Danny Thomas worked on your race as well. We worked together with Millie Vaughn down with the Ohio Dems. We felt pretty positive going into that.
Yep.
I mean, I felt pretty sure that you were going to pull out a victory, and then to lose, what was that feeling like?
Well, I probably can't say it on the podcast, but it wasn't good.
You can use your PG terms if you want.
Yeah, it was not good. That's a very PG. That's a G. But, you're right. We expected, we thought we'd win the race. We, brought back a lot to the community. We had great relationships with Mike Ruley and I worked very well together. He's a Republican. I'm a Democrat. And, worked well with the governors. The governor even called me after the race, and I had lost, and said he was very disappointed that I lost. And, helps a little bit, but, bringing back things to the community that we were able to accomplish. One of the big ones was the $13 million that the EPA, Ohio EPA, that loan forgiveness that we brought back. That's never been done in EPA history, that amount. And it was our relationship with Craig Butler, who was the director of the EPA. It got so close that, the director spent the night at my house before. And, he's the director of the EPA. He's a Republican. And, that's how close we got. But, that was a different time with that election, with Trump on the ballot and with the COVID going around. It changed the way you were running your race. You weren't, necessarily going door to door. That was one of my strong suits, to get out and go door to door and do some other things, be at more events and shake hands and talk with people, face to face, and look them in the eye and say, hey, if you don't like the, here's what I'm doing, and, explain it to them, and, campaign. But you couldn't do that necessarily during COVID. In fact, it was strongly discouraged. People were, reports were coming back. If you knocked on doors, people were either not answering or just shutting the door in your face because, at that time, we didn't know what how bad COVID was going to be. So it changed the way the dynamic of that election. But, we won Trumbull County pretty big. We were the highest vote getter, so we were excited about that. It was tough to get up to Ashtabula because of, like I said, COVID and other things. But it is what it is. And, I was just fortunate enough that the people elected me that many times in the House and the Senate, and now as a judge. But, I felt, a reporter asked me, kind of your question, and I said, I'm walking out with my head high because we accomplished so much for the Valley. And, I don't go anywhere where people say, it's too bad you lost that race. We really wanted you to, to win. And, so that kind of stuff helps. Did it, that night on election night when you're counting the votes and find out you lost by 2,000 votes, you always kicking yourself saying, what could I have done more? But,
do you think there was anything
if I could relive it, I think I would have gone more door to door. I would have said, you know what, we're going to do it. And we spent a lot of money. We did a lot of commercials. We, social media, we did a lot of that. We worked a lot with, as you know, 2 ticks and a dog. And I other than the door-to-door and maybe getting out to more events, but, this area is changing a little bit. With Trump on the ballot, it was a presidential year, brought out, a lot of Republicans to vote. And a lot of people, it was interesting. I was talking to one guy, and he said, look, you're doing a great job. And he named about 5 things that I had done. And I said, well, you're Republican. Did you vote for me? He said, no. He goes, I didn't vote for you. I vote straight Republican, straight down. And
a lot of people voted right down the ticket.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you have that and straight down the ticket, and he just got done telling me, well, I vote for the person. I said, well, then you obviously voted for me. And he goes, well, no, I didn't. He goes, but you won anyway. And I said, see, that's the problem. Everyone thought I was going to win, so they just voted or didn't vote, and that's what happened. I didn't win. But, we dusted ourselves off, and I started meeting with you again, say, okay, we were going to look at McKay's seat anyway because that was turned out. So we took a year and worked down in Columbiana County as a part-time prosecutor down there. Vito Abruzino, very good friend of mine, head prosecutor down there, and he's a Republican. So worked down there for, about a year and a half, and then, we started gearing up for this election. And we were successful in the primary, and we didn't have anyone running against us in the general election. So it turned out well. And the results in that race were very pleasing to show that, I won by over 75% of the vote. And the candidate I was running against was the name was very popular. So it, that kind of win was reassuring. I kind of lost my step and confidence for a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is it embarrassing? Is it, do you feel embarrassed, when you lost and then?
Yeah, I didn't feel embarrassed because, like I said, I thought, we did a great job, and I was very proud of the record that we created, so I wasn't embarrassed, but I was disappointed, obviously, and, maybe I did do something wrong or, what wasn't right that I didn't win that election. But, again, the numbers in Trumbull County were known, because I'm from here, were very high. I think I was the highest vote getter.
I was just going to say, I think you're the highest vote getter in Trumbull County.
But I wasn't so lucky, and, no Democrat won in either that was in Ashtabula or Geauga. They lost their sheriff, they lost their prosecutor, their clerk of courts, I believe, lost. So Dems didn't do well anywhere in that district. But, I wasn't like going back. The embarrassing wasn't it's just disappointed. And then you start second guessing yourself, and then you do lose a step, you stumble. But again, you got to pick yourself back up, and that's what we did. And, the next election we had, we weren't playing. We went and did the door to door and worked with you with the commercials and got those out and just put the head down and went for it and won.
It was disheartening, and I was disappointed too, not only for you, but for several other candidates in the local area that were clients and or friends, and they all lost too. So the dynamics of this area obviously have changed. How do you've obviously got some time, but how do you prepare for that in the future? Like, are you worried for, and you've always been a pretty, what I would say, like a pretty moderate Democrat. You're not a one extreme or the other. You're not extremely liberal. I mean, you were on the show with Mike Ruley. You guys, were friends. Did you ever catch any slack for that? But,
some people sometimes. So you're too close to the Republicans.
You're pandering to Ruley and that kind of stuff.
And
he's kind of gone, at least from a public perception in his social media. Like, he's kind of gone farther right than I think he always was, but.
I found Mike to be more of a moderate. I mean, when we would discuss issues, they're the same ones that, there's few, maybe abortion or something like that, but there's only like 4 or 5 issues maybe that separate us. And for the most part, we agreed on everything. And, as soon as he got elected, I called him and said, look, you and I now represent the Valley. We're the 2 senators. We got to put party aside. And let's do what we can to work together. And he was he was immediately on that. He said that was his goal. He was going to call me and set this up if I didn't do it. But so our relationship has been very strong and able to help and get some of the things done that needed done for the Valley. And it helped a lot that he was a Republican, because then he could go to his caucus and try and get stuff that he and I were working on. And I could go to my caucus and try and get the stuff done. And then it came back as, bipartisan. And I think that was a big help.
Which is what people want.
I think deep down, we want to get things done.
Just get it done.
To get it done. Don't worry about who gets the credit or which party's doing that and get caught up in that, because then nothing gets done. And all we do is see fighting, and, you see that a lot in Washington. And, that's one thing I was proud about. I didn't, party did not come first, and that did tick some people off. And I don't believe that. I think we got to get jobs and better schools and work together to do that, because no one could do it by themselves. And that's why, going back to, I wasn't embarrassed when I lost. I was proud, because that was my philosophy. And I think a lot of people that knew me and recognized that were supportive of that philosophy.
Do you have to now there's your race in 5 years, you'll have a D or an R at the end of your, or is that not there's only certain ones, right?
Yeah. So the legislature changed that so that only the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals, if you're running for one of those offices, you have to put the D or R next to your name. We're supposed to be nonpartisan.
What about municipal?
Nope.
Okay.
So we don't, right now, Common Pleas municipal do not have D or R next to their name. And we shouldn't, because...
Shouldn't at all, right?
At all. No, Judge, because we are not supposed to be political. And, if you want to make it political and you want to put the D and R, then you should let us, raise money. I mean, one of the big things is how we raise money as judges. You can only raise money to run 6 months before your primary and 6 months after the general election. And that's, so you have, in the legislature, you could raise it every day if you wanted to go out and do that, and a lot of them do that, and that's how they get the big war chest. But as a judge, you can't do that, and that's fine. I accept that rule. It's fine. But the problem is, if you're going to put the DRR next to my name, and you're going to have these parties come in and finance, then it changes the dynamic. And lobbyists are pretty strong down in Columbus and Washington, and we don't want that in the judges' races because now we've become political.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to keep politics out of the courtroom. It doesn't belong there, right?
Absolutely.
What is different now, or I should phrase it this way, do you miss some of that socialization down in Columbus? Like, whether it was working with Ruley or working with whoever it was, like, you're very good at that. Like, a lot of people will meet you and people say, oh, I don't, beforehand, they're like, I didn't really know him, but he's likable. I like him. You have a real way about you when you're talking about yourself that is, like kind of a self-deprecating humor. You're not afraid to poke fun at yourself and laugh at yourself. And I think that's a great quality to have for anybody. I know being a judge is probably a little more serious, but down in Columbus, like, I always felt like that was more of a natural fit for you because of your personality than maybe something like this where you're kind of more in the background. Do you miss, kind of the socialization part of it and talking with other?
A little bit. There's parts of everything, I guess, in your life you look back and go, oh, that was good, but that wasn't so good. And, I look back at my time in the State House, and it was fun, and it was good to, get things done and be social, like you said. But at the same time, I was getting burned out. I mean, that drive to Columbus every week, and then you're away from your family, it's a 3-hour drive. You're down there. You're in a super minority. It's funny. People say, "Do you miss it?" And I said, "Well, I was in a super minority. No one listened to me. Now I'm a judge. My jokes are funny, and people stand up when I walk in a room. So there's a big difference there. But it was getting its time, and starting to get a little more burned out. And as a legislature, you're not making a ton of money, and it started cutting into being in the private practice because you could do that a little bit. But so I'm disappointed I lost, but at the same time I was kind of relieved because the other thing you're doing all the time, you're checking your Facebook to see who's complaining about you. You're checking the paper every day to make sure your name's not in it, and if it is in it, are they saying nice things about you? Then you got to check the editorial to make sure they're not saying anything bad. Then in the Tribune, you got to look at orchids and onions. Are you in that? And and people love to tell you, did you see the Facebook chat? Someone's saying you're blah blah blah, whatever it is. You're like, and sometimes your kids see it. My kids were old enough now; they were on social media, and they don't, it didn't bother them or anything, but it's still something that always is there, and it's always I don't miss that. And now I don't have. I'm rarely on Facebook or on social media because as a judge, they're trying to stay, slow that down and not be out like that. I don't think judges should be giving their opinions on a lot of things. And on social media, you have to. And it's kind of nice just to slow that down and not have to worry about all those things I just described. And so I don't miss any of that. I do miss some of the, talking and working out problems. That's one of my best things I liked about the job is here's a problem. There's red tape and there's this problem and that problem. And then you get with people, Larry Oppoff, who was the president of the Senate, we used to get so much done because he would come to my office and I knew he loved pizza. So I'd have a pizza there and say, come on down.
What kind of pizza?
He liked the pepperoni with banana peppers on it.
From one of the local places?
It was one of the local ones. I can't remember the name of it. But I just tell my staff, we need to get this in the budget.
Oh, this is in Columbus, not local.
No.
I was trying to get a local plug for one of these guys, yeah.
Well, Sunrise has great pizza. But the
Ken will be happy to hear that.
Yeah. But so it was, hey, we got to get a pizza. Larry's going to come down. We're going to talk and see if we can get blah, blah, whatever the issue was. And my job then was to be the negotiator for our caucus. I was the whip. So I would go and work with the other side. And those pizzas turned out to be quite successful. They probably brought a couple $1 million, many millions of dollars back to the valley because of them.
Well, do you miss that aspect of it, the direct impact? Like,
Yeah,
you'd get something done
Yeah.
in the legislature and you'd see an impact back home.
Yes,
Obviously,
that
you're
part
making
you
a
do.
decision as a judge, you'll see an impact, but it's not the same.
It is and it isn't, because you're still making an impact in the safety or changing, something hopefully good, making the right decision for the valley. Keeping the judicial faith, that people have faith in the system, that it works. And, if you're sending a bad guy away or girl away and, the victim's there and the victim appreciates, justice has been served or felt that justice has been served, that's rewarding too. And even, to be honest with you, helping people out, like putting them in drug court. I mean, our drug court's very successful. I remember as a prosecutor, it was just starting off, and I thought, this is a joke. These guys are going to get away with all these crimes. And, I guess as prosecutors, that's the way they think. But now even the prosecutors have come around. Our drug court works well, and we have a very good success rate. Judge Logan has it now, and we just talked today that I'm probably going to take that over in 2 years when he leaves. So with my background, and when I was in Columbus, I worked on committees that were dealing with drug addiction and the opioid problems that we had. So it fits right up my alley. So I will be able to still have an impact, and even a direct impact, but more on a personal basis than county or statewide that I had before. But that's still rewarding, and I enjoy that.
Do you see a lot of that? The opioid epidemic is a real buzz phrase during election time. Everyone's talking about it and whatnot. Are you seeing that now? You've been in office, 5 months?
So as far
6
as
months. Like, are you seeing a lot of the people who come before you? Are you seeing a majority of them, or a great amount of them, that seem to be affected by that, in terms of either they're robbing and stealing for it, or they're addicted to opioids, and so they're not maybe paying their child support or whatever? I don't know all the cases you hear, but is that a factor?
It's a factor, and I think it is a big factor. But again, we have like drug court or treatment in lieu. So if they go to treatment and they complete the treatment, it's successful, you dismiss their charges. And not, that's for the people listening. That just doesn't mean if you commit a burglary or something violent, you can't.
This is
do
for
that.
nonviolent offenders.
Yeah, it has to be.
Certain
and there's
cases.
certain, qualifications that the legislature has set up that you can't, arson, pedophiles can't do it. So you can't do that type of treatment in lieu. But, I've seen it be successful. And, drug court, people go in and they have to, it's not easy. They have to complete a very rigorous program. But if they complete it and they're successful, they usually turn out to be, our success rate's pretty decent. And I think it's one of the highest in the state. So it's very helpful to those people to have that. And that's a tool in the toolbox, because nobody wants to be addicted to drugs. No one comes in and says, boy, I'm going to do this so I can get addicted.
Yeah.
But they get that way and they can't get out of it. Sometimes if they could get that nudge out of there, they can get their life back together. Some can't. And, that it is what it is, and you have to deal with it. I've seen people go into drug court and be successful, and I've also seen people come out and fail the program, and I've got to send some to prison. But that was the agreement, and if you didn't complete it, you're going away. So, and you get failure. People are going the back step. You may take 3 steps forward and 4 back before you've completely been able to get off the drugs and do that. And that's one thing that's nice about drug court. They recognize that, and they don't. If you screw up, you may get, more community service, or you may actually do a couple days in jail just to get your attention, or you may go to the NeoCap program, which is 4 months of, it's like jail. You have to go there. You can't leave. You're in a lockdown facility, but you're learning skills. You're going to get drug treatment. You're going to participate in programs that are going to make you better. People take a lot of things for granted that you learned as a child, that some of these people not all of them, but some people with the criminal system haven't learned. They haven't, their parents weren't there. They were raised by their sister who's only 5 years older than them. And, there's no examples for them to follow. They try and teach them the rules that a lot of people got when they were younger. So it's a good system, and I think it has helped a lot of people.
Well, hopefully it curbs the recidivism rate.
Yes.
And we're not just...
And it saves money, and it gets their lives back together,
Yeah.
and it's very helpful.
Well, I don't think there's anybody out there, and if you're out there and you haven't been affected by it, God bless you, man. You've dodged a bullet, but I don't think there's anybody out there that hasn't been touched in some personal way, maybe not directly, but indirectly.
Sure.
Of a cousin, a brother-in-law, a sister-in-law,
A
a friend, an uncle, your nephew, your next-door neighbor. It's a pretty big, it can be a pretty big problem. You graduated with a bachelor's degree in political science.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from that, what can prepare a young person for a life in, I don't want to say politics because that gets a bad rap. That word gets a bad rap sometimes. But in public service, if that's a calling of yours, or if you one day want to practice law, or you're thinking about, I'd like to be a judge. First off, what's kind of a day in the life of being a judge, but what prepared you besides your political science degree?
Well, obviously going to law school, and then being a prosecutor and being around judges, and also, I was more of a trial attorney than a business attorney, so I was in a courtroom a lot. I saw what the judges, what they do. All of them, and you talk cases with them, and so that helped out a lot. Someone who wants to, get, they have a calling to public service, get involved. Go to a foundation that maybe, if you like dogs, go to the Animal Welfare League. If you want to help people, young people, called Derek Tolles with Inspiring Minds. You like the Air Force, they have base community, the base Youngstown Air Reserve Station, they have the base community council that you could be part of that supports the base. You get to go on the base, and you get to work with the airmen and work with some of their needs and try and, what can we do to promote the base? Because it's one of our biggest employers. People don't recognize that. But, getting the J models that we just got, new models of airplane, guaranteed that our base will stay there. And being one of the largest employers, that's very important. But getting back to, get involved. And then if you're a young person, they do internships. We have Law Day where students follow lawyers around to see what you want to, is this something you would be interested in? And just get involved in different things. When I was in law school, I never thought I would be a trial attorney because I hate talking in front of people. I used to drive me crazy.
That's odd for you.
Yeah.
Because you like to talk.
Yes, I do. Now I do. But when I started, I said, I can't do a jury trial. I got to talk in front, public speaking. And then I did my first one when I was in law school. I had a certificate that would let me do misdemeanors. Well, the prosecutor I was with had a conflict, so he couldn't do it. So I did my first jury trial my third year of law school.
Wow.
And it was real cool. And I said, oh, my God, I could get paid to do this. So the more you go out and experience things, you may find that you remember the book Green Eggs and Ham. I don't like them, Sam, I am. And then you try it, and oh, my God, I like it. So try different things, and you may find that you like something you never thought you were going to do. And then if you're working, but you're doing something you love, you're never really working. Because I remember when I started at the prosecutor's office, I loved it. And they said, I actually got a paycheck. And I went, oh, my God, I'm getting paid for this.
You're getting paid. That's how I feel sometimes when I get paid.
I know, because I write some of those checks.
Thank you very much. My son thanks you as well.
Yes.
How do you, obviously there's racial and personal bias and gender bias in the world. How do you, and we all have personal bias too.
Yeah.
How do you set that aside when ruling on a case or in even hearing a case? Again,
I think what I do is I try and, focus on what is the crime, what is the fact pattern, what's the police report or what testimony came out that, established what the law was broken and how bad was it? Was it they put a gun in somebody's face, that adds points, to me that, okay, this is a bad person. There's, and try and look at that and try and take those factors into consideration rather than just looking and say, this person's brown, this one is green, this one's yellow. I try and do the best I can not to do that. When I do a pre-sentence investigation, I try to not look at any names or pictures of the person. I look down at I try and look at only their record. I read the police report, and I try and, and I have recommendations on the pre-sentence investigation, what, probation's recommending. And I try and look at why did they come up with that recommendation? Do I feel, is that the right one? Our probation department works with, if these people are on probation and they have a better, they're with them a lot more than I am, because I'm with them for 10 minutes when I'm sentencing them or taking a plea, or maybe a couple days if we're doing a trial. So I try and take that into consideration. But, I'm human just like everybody else, and I'm sure I have innate biases, but I try the best I can to put them aside.
See, I think it's important that you are aware of it. Like, people are like, I don't think that way, or, people say, like, I don't see color, or I don't see gender. Well, I mean, are you blind? Right. I mean, you see it, and you have a certain predisposition where if you feel a certain way because of your upbringing or your religion or, whatever it is, that's difficult sometimes to shelve that and see it. Or I'm not saying it's difficult. I would think it would be difficult sometimes to shelve that, unless you are aware of yourself and kind of the stuff that you may have a bias about. I think it's important to. We
all have innate biases,
for sure,
and so it's just human, and we're human. So do the best you can to try and alleviate those biases, get them out of your thinking process, try and get the facts in there, and again, going back to the type of crime,
just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. I forgot to say, so I'm going to say it now. Anyone who's listening out there, anything we say should not be construed as legal advice. Not that we've given any today, but if we do give any in the meantime, or have any of these things that come out that may sound like some kind of legal advice, we're not giving you legal advice. Please consult with your attorney for any legal matters. Are you still involved in some of those foundations, or can you still be involved in nonprofits as a judge?
I'm not as much, obviously, as I was, and I'm getting more. I'm getting back into doing some of that charity work. I do volunteer and work with Trumbull County Community Foundation, Northeast Ohio, Western Pennsylvania Foundation.
Are you still on the board there?
But I'm not on the board anymore.
Can you be on the board still?
I think I can, but I just got to make sure if anything were to come before me, I would obviously have to recuse myself.
Yeah.
But, those foundations do such good work, and they're really helped out a lot in our community. So I try and help out as much as I can without crossing lines.
Good, because I know that you have probably limited time, but I'm going to pitch you when the show's over on maybe joining the W.D. Packard Foundation and helping us out. We got a big fundraising effort about to kick off here in the next couple months. We're trying to I don't want to say refurbish, because we're replacing all the seats in the music hall. The foundation's going to try to do that. Yeah, so it's a massive project. We have a big appeal.
Yeah, we can talk about that after the show. Also, call your state senator and state rep and see if there's any money in the capital budget next year.
See, this is why we need somebody like you there that has that wherewithal. You've recently become a partner or owner, co-owner. Tell us about Yankee Lake.
Well, the family has purchased Yankee Lake and are redeveloping it. The previous owner he's been around there. That's been in his family since, I want to say, I think 1927. And so that the history there is just amazing. They used to have bootleggers there. Go through there. John Dillinger, I believe, was there. This area had, back in the day, they had a lot of criminal activity going on throughout our area, and some of the history you're finding out is just, amazing. But they also had, the ballroom, I think, like I said, was 1927, but they had big swing dancers and the big bands, and I believe Ike and Tina Turner played there.
Oh, cool.
I mean, a lot of the old, 1950, 60 big acts played there. And
I like your ringer.
Thank you.
I don't know if we can hear it on the show through the mic,
Okay.
but yeah, it's okay.
Should I wait a second?
No, keep going. It's fine.
All
It
right.
gives a little background music.
Oh, there you go. So, there's a lot of history there. They had truck night there for years. That was frowned upon by the EPA.
Are they still doing truck night?
No, they're not. No, they're not going to do it anymore. But they're going to do. They built a nice stage back there in the back, and they're going to do concerts and some
Outdoors, or are you talking about in the ballroom?
both.
Okay.
Both, because the ballroom's huge.
Yeah.
I think you could fit several hundred people, like
Easily.
700-800.
I was going
people.
to say, yeah, 600 to 800.
Easy. And then they have an outdoor pavilion that's a pretty nice stage in the back there. And they used to do, that's where they would run the trucks through for the truck pull. So they're not going to do that, but they are going to do outside events, camping. So there's a whole thing that I know Dan O'Brien's running it, is looking at, and probably should do a podcast with him on there, because he's got some really, I think they're going to do a Bigfoot festival.
Oh, that's
this year,
cool.
and a fall festival. I think that one's September 23rd, because it's first day of fall. And then the Bigfoot festival is the 13th and 14th of October.
Okay.
And then they're going to bring Bootleggers back, which is it's a concert series, and we're partnering with Kenny Hyderis, because he does the AMP and he does Robbins Theater. So, a lot of people have come up to me, and I know other people, and said, "Hey, we're so excited the family has bought it." I'm not so much involved with that, but the family is, and that they are looking to bring some of the old things back. And Bootleggers was one of them, because during the wintertime, there's not a lot of places you can go and have, country-themed bands. I think you have to go to up to Canton, to the Dusty Armadillo and other.
Oh, yeah.
But they're pretty far away. So
I remember that place.
yeah. So this will give you something to do during the wintertime that'll be fun. And, Kenny's really great at entertaining. So he's got some good acts coming up from Nashville. So
That's cool.
yeah, it's
I'm not
pretty
trying to
exciting.
knock the cover bands, the tribute bands.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not my favorite thing. It ain't my cup of tea. I think I went to see one cover. I went to see Finns at the
Okay.
amphitheater one time. It's just not. Listen, people that are into it and they love it, cool. I know it
kinda
brings
like
in.
it. I think it's pretty cool.
Well, it brings in money. I mean, I went last a couple nights ago. I went to see. I'm wearing the T-shirt today. Went to go see Marcus King over at the Packard Music Hall. Amazing. I mean, that guy's probably too big to bring into Yankee Lake. But those a couple years ago, he wasn't.
Right,
So
right.
those up and coming acts would be cool to see people on the rise.
the Vindies would be awesome.
The Vindies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we like the Vindies.
Well, I'll talk to Jackie and Rick for you. They were we all went to the concert together.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Jackie and Rick and Scott and a couple of my friends all met up. Actually, we met up at the Underground and then went to the concert together. I should have called you. Are you still down here or no?
No.
No. Okay.
No. But I haven't been to the Underground for a while. I'd like to go. It's been a while since I've been there.
Well, they changed ownerships.
Well, what was it? It was the Speakeasy.
It was the Speakeasy. Pam and Tony
Yep.
owned it, and then Angela Price bought
Yep.
it. That had Jacked.
That was when I was there last.
Yeah. So they've made not knocking what Angela did. They've made some improvements. I'm biased. Talk about bias. I'm biased to the Speakeasy and to Pam and Tony and what their vision was when they originally started that place, along with Paul Lataw. He was their manager and developed their menu and all that stuff. And of course, then he went on to Barrel 33. And I just ran into him yesterday at Home Depot. He's at Avalon now. He's in the wine bar.
I saw him there.
He's
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah, he is.
We should go up there someday and catch a drink.
Next podcast we do is there.
Yeah. Listen, man, I'm not trying to lug all this gear. I just want to go get a drink, okay?
Well, I'm Irish.
But No, there's new owners, Teresa, and I forget her husband's name off the top of my head, but they're really nice. They're running a nice place.
Good.
Prodders out there that aren't from the area or are from the area, underneath the Best Western on North Park in beautiful downtown Warren, historic Courthouse Square, the Underground Lounge. Shout out to them. And get yourself a smash burger and a drink. I've been drinking Negronis lately. You familiar with Negronis?
I am.
It's gin, sweet vermouth, and Campari. And so I ordered one the other night before the Marcus King show, and she brought it to me in a martini glass, and they're traditionally served in like an old-fashioned glass.
Right, that's what I thought.
And you feel kind of hoity-toity when you're handling the, you know. But I didn't have the heart to tell her at that particular juncture because she was super busy. I think they might have had somebody call off and she was running around, and I didn't want to say, hey, make this in an old-fashioned glass for the next one.
Did it have an umbrella?
No, it didn't.
Okay.
It didn't, which would have been even stranger.
Right,
but I was sipping it with my pinky out.
I'm sure you were.
When it was out of the martini glass. I actually, a friend ordered me another one, and they did put it in a old-fashioned glass. What kind of acts I've been to the Yankee Lake Ballroom before, obviously when Jerko's had it, and we should mention John Jerko's movie. I don't know the title of it.
It's a documentary, but he's interesting that he just did a documentary, and I don't know if you know this, on
it's like Elephant Man, not Elephant Man,
but and he I don't know the exact
what's
name
the title?
of it.
I'm gonna look it up.
That's it.
Yeah, if you see me looking at the phone, that's why.
Yeah, I don't know the name of it, but I know that it was about protecting the animals over there, and some of the gamekeepers who protect these animals. One of his friends who was a gamekeeper,
Rhino Man.
That's it. He got killed defending the rhinos and the wildlife over there, and but the Rhino Man has become such a success that I think it's Prince William is having a premiere of it this week. In fact, I think John Jerko and his wife are going over.
Really?
Yeah, they're meeting the Prince and they're going to meet the Prince and view the film with them on the opening. So
wow, that's awesome.
He's got a lot of publicity for it, and he's done a great job.
Yeah, he made his first movie was like beer trucks and mud or something. It was about Yankee Lake Truck Night.
Yeah.
And I think I was over there. He did a little work out of here for a minute. And I think I was over there for that, but we went over one time to shoot a promo for a Chris Higbee concert. Chris Higbee played there. Yep. What kind of acts, besides from the Vindies, I mean, you're going to try to get some...
You know, Chris Higbee is one of the ones we're looking at. We're sitting down with Kenny saying, well, we know we're going to bring up some from Nashville. He's got already, I think, November 18th booked, and, he's got a whole list of acts that, these are live acts that are down in Nashville that are going to come up here.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so they're pretty good, and we're excited about that. And to your point about the cover bands, they're not going to be playing, they may play some music, but they have their own.
Right.
And if you've been to Nashville and see all the acts that are down there, they're all pretty good. And so we're very excited about that. And then we're going to look at, starting a summer series next year for the outside venue. So we'll do bootleggers probably until April, take the month of May off, and then go right into June, the Yankee Lake Summer Series, concert series. And then we'll, I kind of like what you just said, local bands, but, up-and-coming bands like the Vindies have seemed to already made it, but, other bands coming up, and then, just go with there and see how it goes. People are looking for different things to do, and I think our venue is so big that it gives them some fun things to do in the summer. And then we, in the winter with the ballroom as big as it is, we'll have a lot of activities there as well.
What's your favorite kind of music, Your Honor?
Yeah, I like classic rock. I like Finn's. I like.
You're a Buffett guy.
Buffett's good. I like all music. I can listen to. My kids crack up because I listen to Circles from. What's his name? I can't remember his name, but they're like, you have this on your playlist. Well, I go, well, you got Queen on yours, and that's my generation. So
who's your favorite band?
The Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters.
That's my favorite.
All right.
Yeah, I'm a Foo Fighter guy.
Dave Grohl.
Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
When he comes into town, I keep telling Kenny I got to meet him. I haven't met him. And everyone's I saw him.
He comes down to the alley sometimes. I ran into him in the alley one time, and it was like a pretty surreal experience. I'd met him over at the cabin when we did the concert and whatnot, and he was real cool then. But
we'll see if we can get him to play at Yankee Lake.
Dude, that'd be a pretty neat feat, man. I would like it.
Yeah.
You can count me in. I'll come to that show.
That would be awesome.
What's ahead of you? What's what do you hope your legacy is? If you project out in the next, because you're still a relatively young man. I'd like to say that we're on the wrong side of 45, but we keep pretty fit. So hopefully you get to that point where in 20 years when you're retired, hopefully at 74 you're retired. What's your legacy?
I hope it is something that, people say, he did whatever job he was doing. He did the best he could. We're, glad that we elected him as many times as we did, and he represented our area, and he represented it well. And, as being a judge, I hope that, I know I'm going to make mistakes, but I hope they're not major mistakes, and I hope I make the right decisions. But, I just hope that when I look back, I say, some big cases or things going on, I did the right thing, and I didn't cave to different types of peer pressure, political pressure. I said this is the right way and went with that and stuck to the guns, and that means a lot. So, one of the biggest things that has happened since I've been elected, I've been here 5 months and I've got 2 death penalty cases, and it's like that's surreal when you're sitting there and these people come in for a pre-trial and they're looking at the death penalty, and that's what they did was horrendous and deserves, that's why we have those types of charges. But it's a surreal type of experience. And then on top of that, these cases, death penalty cases, don't go away. I've got to relook at, Sean Carter, his case was in 1997. He was convicted of killing, I think, his grandmother, and he was sentenced to death, but he's still, obviously still going on. And that case, there's new issues that are being brought back to me now. And that case is over, 25 years old. So these cases, one, don't go away. And then 2, they're so super scrutinized, and you got to make sure as a judge, I went to the death penalty seminar, and I'm down with Cindy Rice, and we're sitting there, and all these things that you got to make sure you do, and you're hoping you don't forget this and you don't say that, and you got to make sure you dot that I every time. You got to cross that T. There's no room for error. You're only on the job at that time. It was 2 months. I looked at Cindy and I said, I should have ran for municipal court. This is crazy. It was trying to drinking through a fire hose, but it's one of the responsibilities. I knew that going into it, but only having that, that on your plate within 2 months of, I think that case was indicted back January 17th. So I had only been on the job 17 days. And to have that type of case, we haven't had a death penalty case in Trumbull County for a while. So you would, it'd be nice to have your feet underneath you and figure out what's going on, where the bathrooms are before you had a case like that. But it's fine because, again, I could go back to my judges and, you were in this situation. What did you, what are the pitfalls or what are the minefields? And it's good to have good judges there that we work together as a team and make that happen.
Does that stuff stress you out? Like, does it keep you up at night when you have those kind of cases? I mean, that's a lot of responsibility to burden.
Yeah, that is something that does, especially as you're getting closer to the pretrial dates and, a trial date's going to be coming up. So you're thinking about it and making sure, the defendant's rights are still being protected. The victims are being informed and those types of things are going on. The prosecutor's doing what they're supposed to be doing. Defense attorneys meeting with them and, making the right motions. So it's a lot of, as you said, stress, and, it does keep you somewhat up at night. So I've had a couple nights where I'm a little bit,
What do you do personally to kind of curb your stress, even when you were in the State House? Like, obviously there's a lot of stress involved in that too.
I used to, what I like to do is go hiking.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one of the nice things about, the family having Yankee Lake. It's got a lot of trails on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we're probably going to open that up. But to walk the trails and go back in the woods and take the dog, I really enjoy that. And my wife does too.
What kind of dog do you guys have?
I got a Belgian Malinois.
Yep.
And I've got a rescue dog. My wife rescued a dog, and the Belgian is a police dog, and it's high strung, and but it's a great dog. And the other dog is a lot smaller, but it rules the house. So it's just a mix of I don't even know what it's just a small. It's not a lap dog. It's 66 pounds, so it's not a small one.
Yeah, that's not a small dog.
Yeah, but it's a lot smaller than the Belgian. But it rules the house, and it's the guard dog. It brings its big brother, or big sister, I should say, up when if she doesn't like something. She barks, and the Belgian comes up and checks it out, makes sure everything's all right. That's funny.
Wait, well, when you're walking the Malinois, is it always on the seek? I mean, those dogs are like high energy. Yeah. They're very focused.
She, for the first 2 minutes of walking her, is pure hell because she wants to go, let's go. But once she starts walking, she's a normal dog. Absolutely. Now, if you bring out a ball, now your life's, you can't throw the ball enough times. Your arm will fall off before the dog
You need
stops.
one of those ball
I got one.
flingers, yeah.
And to protect her, we there's water on the property, so we throw it into the pond because she's just 0 to 100 in like 3 seconds. I mean, she's gone.
Yeah.
And she's 10 years old now, so she doesn't know, like I don't, that we're not the young whippersnappers that we once were. So, but she's like I say, a great dog. Throw the ball, you can throw it all day.
My buddy trains Malinois.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Chuck Parks.
Okay.
And he, he's kind of like my resident expert on dogs. If I have a dog question, I'll call him. But he posts a lot of videos, and those dogs are like super driven, right?
Yeah.
They're always on the hunt, always on the prowl.
Very much so. But they're, people say, that's not a family dog. Well, she's very good with the family, and a great dog, and she does relax, once you put the ball away. But I found she's been a great dog, and funny because just how she is driven, and she will find that ball. We play hide and seek. I like to, so I don't have to throw it all the time. The wife will hold the dog while I go and put it somewhere. That dog will not stop until it finds that ball.
That's so funny.
Almost 99% of the time finds the ball.
What else do you do besides hiking? You still have I know you had the all those free weights and stuff. You still have all that stuff?
We still have that, and sometimes sneak over. I should do that a lot more. I used to do the triathlons, but with time, so I try and at least walk now. Not the young whippersnapper like I was, but
you gonna go back to jiu-jitsu at all? You did a little bit of jiu-jitsu for a minute there. I know you were scared to get on the mat with me.
Well, I didn't want to hurt you. I did not want to hurt you because I know you might find file lawsuit or something, and so I didn't want to do that. But there are things that you have to do to relieve that stress, and I have found that walking and hiking and camping are something that we've really gotten into and we really enjoy. We do once in a while for vacation, do some of the Appalachia Trail.
Oh, that's cool.
And then go up to Marionville. I'm going to go up to Marionville this weekend. They're having a Bigfoot festival. So I'm going to get some notes on
Get a little research for Yankee Lake.
Yeah, do a little research for Yankee.
Do you believe in Bigfoot?
He's out there somewhere.
No, come on.
I'm telling you, people at Yankee Lake think they've seen him.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You ever remember that old footage? It was like the Zapruder footage for the Kennedys. They had that guy in like a monkey suit.
Yeah, I love that.
But when you saw that as a kid, that grainy footage,
kind of more real.
Oh, dude, I was like, oh my God, what is? When I was 8 years old and saw it on TV. What is that? Is that real?
I think people liked it. Goes back to Mueller and the X-Files, where I want to believe.
Yeah,
and I think sometimes people want to believe, so they'll make him believe, and it's not hard if someone wants to believe to convince them something's real. And so, maybe there is a Bigfoot.
I think there's some history of UFOs out by Yankee Lake and in that Brookfield area. I remember that call.
The 911 call?
Yeah, to Trumbull County.
And it went through Brookfield, Liberty.
Yeah.
The dispatcher actually was a Brookfield police officer when she, but one of their officers was following the UFO, and then I believe it went to Vienna and then over to Liberty. And the Liberty officer, I think he's the chief now, Toby. His car actually stopped running and turned off when the UFO was like directly above him. And it's on. The thing is you say, oh yeah, bunch of bull, but it's weird because it's on the 911 tapes, and you can put this, check it out on YouTube.
Yeah,
I have, and I know these people, and they're not crazy people,
right?
So it's kind of like, what did they really see? And the way he describes it, and then they did a national, I think, show on it and reenactment, and they had the officers in it, and they had Roy Ann Rudolph, who was the 911 dispatcher. She works for the prosecutor's office now. But I talked to her, and she's like, Sean, I was listening to these officers, and they were not bull, that wasn't like they were drunk or something. They were on duty. They're following the thing. And the funny part is she called the airport, and they don't have it on radar.
Yeah.
So we have nothing on radar. So it's kind of what happened that night. Well, maybe Bigfoot was there and got snatched up by the UFOs, and that's why we can't find him, because he keeps coming back. And then
that's a good theory. I never thought about that.
We've been doing some thinking.
That doesn't fit into the the normal narrative of these small beings, big eyes, and
I think
whatnot.
they're partnering with Bigfoot.
Could be. Maybe they shrink Bigfoot. He gets in the saucer and flies.
He's like
away
their
with them.
probe. They send him out to gather information and pull you back in.
Renee, one time, obviously before we were dating or married, she was dating this guy, and he lived in like Farrell or Sharpsville or somewhere, and they were over there on one of the lakes. I don't know.
Probably the dam, Shenango Dam.
Maybe it was that, and they were having a picnic or whatever at nighttime, and she saw this light, and it was like a glowing kind of orb, kind of what you describe, and as it came towards them, they didn't know what it was. What is that? It wasn't making any noise. It wasn't a plane. It wasn't a helicopter. And they got scared, got up and ran, grabbed their stuff, and took off. So she's the only person I know that's like had eyes on like an unidentified flying object, which I don't think they're called UFOs anymore.
No,
they're called something else. I just read about that.
Yeah, the Air Force has reclassified them as unknown aerial phenomenon.
That's
Something
right.
like that.
UAF.
No,
UAP.
Yeah, I think it is.
Obviously,
I think
my
that is
spelling,
it.
UAP.
Well, I mean, look at the Air Force and the Navy with their fighter jets. They actually have them, and
Yeah, why can't all the we got these phones now, and you can zoom in, and we've got. How come we can't get any footage of these things, man?
Well, maybe it's because they're watching our military. I mean, they're around all the military bases and stuff, and they're flying so fast. I mean, the only reason they got that one, I think, is because they had a special targeting radar on it and infrared. And when you see it flying by, they're celebrating because they locked it up.
Yeah.
It happened so fast, and they're so fast.
That's the one where it like kind of dropped down and then moved laterally and then went in some real like non-aeronautical patterns.
And it's
what we're not
speeds and
capable
G's that a human body couldn't tolerate.
Yeah. What's that guy's name? Fravel? I think the pilot's name's Fravel.
I can't remember, but it was on 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
And I mean, if
do you believe in we're being visited?
If you look at the stars and figure there's billions of stars, and around each planet or each star are other planets, it would be hard to believe that there isn't some other place that had the calculation of mathematical statistics to have a planet like Earth that's 93,000 miles from that sun that produces the same or livable, energy that couldn't create life somewhere else. And that life is just, the solar system's so old, 13 billion? And the Earth is like 10 billion, or, I'm not sure on those numbers, but I know they're in the billions. That's a long time.
Yeah.
So, life developed somewhere else and is more sophisticated than we are. Who knows?
Could be out there.
Listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
Later.
They're going to visit you at Yankee Lake next time you're walking the Malinois with your wife.
And Bigfoot. The dog's going to chase. Roxy will catch Bigfoot for us.
What was your favorite, alien movie as a kid, or one that you saw?
Aliens.
Yeah, the first one? Alien.
Both.
Yeah.
The second one was good too. But
Yeah.
the first one, when we were growing up, we had those laser discs, and that was one of the only movies that was out on it. And we'd watch
Not DVD, laser discs.
laser discs.
Yeah.
You actually
it was
had
like a record.
Yeah, and then you'd have to turn it over for part 2 of it.
I remember them.
So that was one of the movies we had. That movie actually was pretty scary.
Yeah.
And I thought they did a good one on Aliens 2. That was good.
Yeah. Well, that was Aliens, right? Where she gets in that
suit and
loader and she's starts fighting
Sigourney
in that
Weaver.
suit.
She's a bad
Yeah,
woman.
yeah. That was good. That's a good movie. I'm going to have to revisit that.
Yeah, that is a good one.
I'm a Spielberg guy. So E.T. was always my go-to as a kid, and then Close Encounters, before that. But I think I saw Close Encounters after I saw E.T.
Yeah, those are both great movies. Both great movies.
I can't watch E.T. without getting a little misty-eyed.
Oh, yeah.
Even to this day.
Yeah.
I watch it with my son. He's like, Dad, what's going on over there? I got something in my eye.
Yeah. I'm like that with Big Fish at the end. I don't know if you've ever seen
I
that
saw
movie.
it once, and I kind of vaguely remember it. That's a Tim Burton film.
Yeah, Tim Burton. I like a lot of his films. But I thought that
They're
one gets me a little
remaking
bit.
Beetlejuice.
I saw that.
Or not remaking it. It's going to be a sequel.
Oh, it is? I thought they were.
Or
I
maybe
know
they are.
I know they're doing something with it.
It's a sequel because the girl that's in Wednesdays, Jenna Ortega, is playing the daughter of what the heck's the girl's name that was
I know
in
who
it?
you mean.
Yeah. The daughter from Beetlejuice.
Right.
That makes
Could
contact
see him
with
and-
Beetlejuice, yeah. What the heck's her name? She was in Stranger Things too. Why can't I think of her name? It'll come to me. I'm having a senior moment. I had jiu-jitsu last night, so I'm a little
Sore?
sore. I was doing
Those
that and
fifth
then
graders
working
are
out.
tough, ain't they?
Well, he's 15. My training partner last night was 15. Fortunately, he's a small, he's like my size. He maybe weighs 150 pounds, It's not like having, Jim Bundy on top of you or one of those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could do some damage.
Well, you let me know next time you're ready to roll, man. You're ready to do some
I will.
training. I'll be ready for you.
I know you will be.
I appreciate you coming on today.
Appreciate it. Great to be here.
It's great to have you, and hopefully we can get you on again, maybe with the Yankee Lake crew, and talk about some of the stuff that you guys are doing there.
I think that would be great.
Yeah. Shout out to John Jerko again. If I can't remember the name of that. Well, we said Rhino Man, but did he release that movie about Yankee Lake?
He never did. He was trying to get funding for it, and I don't think it ever came through. So there's parts of it out there on YouTube. Yeah. We just watched a couple of them, and it's funny because they talk about the train tracks being taken back in the 20s or 30s, and that they ended up in the dam, and we just happened yesterday to be on the dam and look down, and there they are. You can see the railroad tracks that were taken back in the day from Kingsgrave Road railroad crossing.
Is that how they fixed the dam? Wasn't the dam leaking, right?
Well, they believed it was leaking and then said, well, we're just going to take it out. They don't want a chance at breaking and, causing, what they're doing in Ukraine right now. So they just breached it, and now it's, that thing was a motorcycle raceway for a while, and it's still pretty cool, and to be able to walk the property and then to walk up in the woods. I think we're looking at doing something like that, opening up for walking for people.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
You could camp and then walk the trails.
Yeah.
So we're looking at a lot of different ideas, and Dan O'Brien's been, I hate saying nice things about him because then he rubs it in, but he's done a great job down there. He redid the liquor store. They had a liquor store.
I saw the pictures you posted.
Yeah, they.
Is Dan your cousin?
Yeah, he's my cousin. So he, all the liquor was behind the store. You couldn't get to it or see it. So people have been thanking him left and right because now they can see and walk around, and we're working on fixing up the ballroom right now, and then the outside for the concerts and the festivals, and we do Yankee. We don't do it, but the bikers do it. They do Yankee Lake Bike Night, and then we're looking at we'll be fixing up the tavern. Just changing some stuff and updating, putting a new roof on it, but people are very happy and seem to like a lot of the changes that are happening.
Yeah, I think I had lunch out there with Denny one time.
Oh, Denny Malloy?
No, with Denny Watkins.
Oh,
yeah. I think we met out there when he had hired me for his re-election campaign. And we
Okay.
met out there, and I think they serve food out there, right?
Yeah.
They still have food.
The food
in the
is
tavern.
excellent. I think they have the best wings. I got one of the best things about being in the state house and state senate is Homes for Kids would have a chicken wing contest, and I got to be a judge.
Matt Kresick.
Yeah.
What's up, buddy? Shout out to Matt.
There you go.
Danette.
Yeah.
Is she still with them?
No.
I don't think she's there anymore.
Retired. Yeah, she left.
She's doing a lot of flying. All right, tell me about the wings. I interrupted
So the
you.
wings were excellent, and I got to taste them from all over the county, and I thought that that was one of the best things. But I'm going to tell you, if you ever judge a wing eating contest, do not eat the entire wing because they're bringing out a lot of wings. So you take a bite out of it, eat that bite, but you can't eat the whole wing because then you're going to be eating like 50 wings.
But you don't want to be wasteful, man.
You don't. I mean, you felt bad about it, but I tell you what, I could after like because there's so many different categories. After like the 10th test, I'm like, how many more are there? Because I'm pretty full, and they're like, oh, we still got 20 more to go, 20 different categories. I'm like,
so who's got the best wings? Is it Yankee Lake?
Yankee Lake, and I'll stand by that. Their wings are excellent,
Dude, I got to go out there and check it out.
and they got Buffalo Trace. So
I saw that they also have. They also had. What's the bourbon that no one can get right now?
Buffalo Trace is one of those.
Buffalo Trace is certainly one of them. I've had a bottle. Barry Berkey got me a bottle. It's got the red label. I don't know why I can't think of
Not
the
Makers.
No, not Makers. No. Makers is everywhere. The
Russell.
No.
Well, we get Wellers in.
Wellers.
Yeah,
Wellers Antique.
We get that from time to time.
And the red
but it
label
sells out so
sells
fast.
out.
I mean, you get it and it's gone.
Yeah. Well, you can't get it. People wait at 9 o'clock in the morning at
yeah.
Giant Eagle for that stuff to come out.
It's tough to get, but we get it from time to time. I've seen it there. We've had a couple of those where they do those big promotions and they put out those types of, the bourbon craze is crazy.
Yeah.
It's very crazy right now.
Yeah.
People, but what they'll do is they'll wait in line, buy it for $35 and sell it for $400 online or however, people pay that right now. And it's crazy.
Yeah, like that Weller Antique's like $150 a bottle is the average if you're buying it online. I think it's like a $40 bottle of bourbon.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's good though. It makes a nice Manhattan.
It does. No doubt there. I don't know if I'd pay that kind of money, but
all right. Well, it's you're treating. We'll go out there.
Okay.
We'll have a
we'll have
a Manhattan with Wellers.
I'll buy the wings. You buy the booze.
Okay, that's fair enough. And then we got to do the walking trail though.
Yeah, the walking trail.
That would be
You'd
cool.
love it.
That'd be a great option because there's not a lot of options. Like once you've been to some of the places locally, it's like you keep going. Open up another option would be really cool.
Yeah, and I think people would really like it because it's part of it too where it goes is right along the river there. So
oh, that's cool.
It's really cool, especially at night.
All right, we're gonna make a date of it. Next episode of the podcast may be at Yankee Lake. Listeners, lovers, and friends, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sean O'Brien, you're the Honorable Sean O'Brien. Appreciate you coming today.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Have a great summer. And anyone that's out there listening, make sure you like, listen, subscribe to the ProdCast. You can find us on theprodcast.net and click on any of those icons that are your favorite podcasting apps and make sure you subscribe because we are starting to do our summer giveaways. And of course, our giveaways are gift cards for Station Square Restaurant, Salvatore's Italian Grill, and Modern Methods Brewery, which is located right here on Dave Grohl Alley. That's where Sean's taking me next to get a couple of cold ones.
Yes.
Have a great summer, man. Appreciate you.
You too, man.
Stay electrified, Prodders. Until the next time, be kind to one another and be good.